feet away, so.
And Rusty, if you're comfortable taking you as well, it's totally up to you.
I told Mary that I feel comfortable because we're 6 feet away, you know.
Yeah.
I know there's no windows in here, but the air flow's good, the air's on.
Mary, you good without us wearing a mask, or do you
I've
want?
got mine on.
You're okay with us not doing the double protection? You
I'd
don't wanna
like
worry
to call
about.
the Monday, June 29th special virtual meeting of the Board of Education to order. It is 6:17 PM. Roll call, Mary?
Chairman Papaholzer,
Here.
Vice Chair Candelora,
Here,
Secretary Sienna, Janet Balsamo. Can they hear me?
She said here, but she was on.
Here, sorry. Sorry.
Vincent Mays,
Present.
Marcia Onofrio.
Here.
And Cynthia Rice.
It looks like her audio is
She's
being a
trying to
little
connect.
That's
funky.
okay.
Can we salute the flag?
Yes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're here to discuss and take possible action regarding the educational specifications prepared for North Branford High School renovation project to build as new.
Then I would like to make a motion to accept the educational specifications that were prepared for North Branford High School renovation project to build as new.
Second.
Discussion?
I had a few things when I went through it. The first one was that the NBHS project will incorporate a green roof. Did we talk about that, or was that just on the ed specs?
I can't hear her.
We
She's
talked
coming in
about the roof
muffled.
the roof was being changed to a gable roof.
It's about the greenhouse roof?
It was gonna be a gable roof,
Gable, pitched.
pitched roof, gable pitched roof.
It talked about, it's under low environmental impact, page 148.
That was original for a green school when we get away from
Right,
that.
we moved away from that.
Right.
So it's a
Moved away from
gable
that.
roof, and we were looking at a green school with geothermal, heating and, cooling systems, and then we went away from that in the
Yeah,
project.
so
Right.
there's no longer a green roof, it's going to be a gabled roof and it's not gonna be flat.
Okay. All right, and then I had a question on, well, I had another question too. So we don't need the auditorium to be connected to the high school like what was originally stated months ago?
So initially, when we were looking at a renovation project, we looked at it as connected, obviously. And then the options for new were to, because the existing building is where it is, to build, and I think we presented 3 different options on the
Yeah.
site. And all 3 of those options were separated from the existing building. And so part of the project has a connector that goes from the new building to the auditorium.
And the state approved that?
Yes.
Okay.
And Carolyn, the auditorium is not included in the square footage for the school,
Okay.
the high school. It's being considered part of the middle school.
Okay. All right, and then I had a question too, which I like reread it, so now I'm like questioning if I have a question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Again, it was on page 154 under concept design. Once the new building is completed, the existing building will be demolished, leaving the old high school gymnasium, the natatorium, and the kitchen as part of the middle school. The kitchen will function as a central facility that will serve all schools in North Branford.
No, that, we'll delete that. It's, because there's no natatorium there. I think that's just a typo in terms of what's there. So there'll be nothing left at the end of that construction.
Okay.
It's basic.
Shauna, can you just repeat what they said? Because I could hear you much better than I can hear them. Can you kind of give me a recap of what they just said?
Yeah, so Carolyn asked about what was being demolished essentially and what was remaining. And there was some misinformation in the ed spec that wasn't deleted, so the total building would be demolished. There would be no central kitchen, there would be no, Carolyn, what was the rest? Gymnasium,
and
cafeteria.
Cafeteria
There would-
and a local kitchen.
And
A
a
kitchen will
kitchen.
function as a central facility.
Yeah.
No.
It's, the whole building will be demolished,
Just-
so it
yeah,
needs to
that's-
be
okay.
reworked, yep.
I, just for clarification, I'm reading on page 154, where it says, once the new building is completed, the existing building will be demolished, leaving the old high school gymnasium, the auditorium, and the kitchen as part of the middle school. The kitchen will function as a central facility that will serve all the schools in Oakland. That's what she's referring to.
Exactly,
So let's
it's-
clarify that.
But that's going to be completely demolished.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as he clarifies that, then we're good.
And Rusty right now is lining it.
I think it's important to add that this document is in motion and is changing as we go, which is not a problem for application. I had that conversation with Rusty this morning. There was another question about the acreage and the plot site, and we corrected that. And we had that conversation about this ebbing and flowing as we continue in this process, and that this document has no bearing on what the state does with it.
So Scott, basically what we want to do is make sure the application is on time.
Right.
And then any modifications, once it's accepted by the state by June 30th, we could always modify it later on. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's correct.
Correct.
I mean, we've been editing this as we go along, so one of the, like this question, we will edit that and get you an updated PDF.
Vince, I also anticipate that the ad hoc building committee will have a large role in the specifications of the building, not necessarily the classroom space, but the build.
Yeah, so to piggyback on that one, I went to that ad hoc meeting.
Go over this way. Sorry. They can't hear you. Then Sean has to repeat it.
So I went to the ad hoc committee meeting last Tuesday, I think it was, and there is issues with the land that they want to build this school on. It is wetlands, so the ad hoc committee would like to look into that more in-depthly. So I am approving the school tonight, but I want it to be an open forum where we can still look at all three options and maybe even moving the new school into a different area, because I am not comfortable putting it on wetlands after going to that meeting.
So one of the things I discussed with Rusty today, and he'll talk a little bit more about it, is that if we approve the school as new, we are approving a new building, and we are not wed to the specific location that the boring was done. We just need to maintain a campus environment, which means on the 55 acres and also in the sunflower field across the street from the school, we could put the school there, football field, tennis court, parking lot, we could put it anywhere. So we are not wed to location.
Are we
And I
right
just
to
want to
making
add,
it brand new?
I agree with Carolyn Candelara. Last meeting, I did have concerns about the location, and that's why I asked Rusty about the elevation of Caputo Road, Mill Street and Forest Road. I too have concerns, Carol, to be honest with you. But I think right now our main thing is to get the application to the state, get it approved, and then the Board of Ed can meet with the town council and say, okay, what is the best land specification that we could service our students with and where it would be? So I do have concerns too, Carol, so you're not alone in that avenue.
Yeah,
Just to let you
I
know.
agree with Carolyn too. I'm a little bit worried. And we talked a little bit about it today and how we might have to do borings in other locations to see where the best location may be. And again, I believe the ad hoc building committee would be very involved with that as well. Rusty, do you have anything to add to that piece about?
Just some clarification. So the location is not wetlands, it's land which has a high water table. So as you noticed, the
What's the difference? between a wetland?
So wetlands is what's right next door where the vegetation in there, it's gonna be always wet and the vegetation has a
That
certain.
swampy area?
Right, that's swampy, the swamp area, that's considered wetlands.
Mhm.
This is land that just has a high water table. Actually, much of your site has a high water table. Even the auditorium has a high water table. So depending on, where you are. And it varies for instance, from the north to south, it goes by 6 inches. There's a difference in terms of the 6 inches in terms of the water table itself. So it's conceivable that, I thought that as you'd go further away from the wetlands, that the water table would be lower. And actually, what's the geotechnical report showed was just the opposite, that as you came closer to the wetlands, the water table was lower. But I think it's a good idea to look at other options. We did look at the 3 options on the site. The educational program is what dictated the final outcome, and that's something important to look at. Where it is, it's not that you can't build in that area. It's a little bit more expensive. We anticipated that in our budgeting process, but certainly if we move 50 feet in one direction or even more, depending on where the things are, and it helps to mitigate some of those concerns, that would be better. So it would need to be a balance between, the constructability and the educational specifications as well. But it doesn't, these ed specs don't preclude you from saying we want to move it over here.
Can we also do like a renovate as new if we choose, or choose to do part new, part renovation?
If you go in the direction of renovate as new, what is required for renovate as new, there's a lot of details, a lot of information that we have to submit to the state. And it used to be that you did that after the application. Now they require you to do it before the application, and you actually get a renovate as new approval from the commissioner, the DAS, the commissioner.
So when do we have to do that by?
That would have already been done. If you had gone in the direction of renovate as new, we would have put the application in based on renovate as new.
So we can't change that based on what the ad hoc committee is
So as you
saying
move
now?
to the next phase,
Yeah.
if there's a compelling reason, you could go back to the state. I can't guarantee that they'll say it's okay to change the status of the building. One of the criteria for renovate as new is financial. If it indicates that a new building is less expensive than renovating your existing building, which in this case it is, then that's one of the criteria that they judge you on in terms of.
Even with how much the foundation or the lack of foundation with draining and then dewatering and putting the water in, that's gonna be cheaper with that foundation of what, 5 million was the quote?
No, so the $6 million site number is what we talked about. And yes, we compared, the budgets are compared based on those conditions, based on dewatering. Actually, in this case, you can put in piers, that gives you 2 options. And so as you look at that, you will determine, okay, we can put in piers, we can build a building in some other location or that location on site. You do have the same issues on the existing building. So the concern is, because we have to replace most of the plumbing in that building, now you're gonna be cutting up the slab, and the original building has very little moisture mitigation underneath the slab. So there's gonna be other complications from using the existing building. I'm not saying it can't be done. We actually addressed a part of it in the budget, and that's why you see the numbers as high as they are, because there's so many unknowns with the existing building and achieving renovate as new.
What happens if the building committee decides that the best rate to go, or the town council, is to renovate as new? How is this?
You mean today,
Like
for
in
instance?
general, so like so tonight we're voting on to building a new school, right? But we're still kind of figuring out where we're gonna build this. So if everything comes out that there's not an ideal place to build, and the ideal piece of land is where the school already is, and we decide the town council, the ad hoc committee, whoever, because there's a bunch of us involved in this process, are they locked into building as new, or can they look into doing a renovate as new, or what is everybody else locked into? Because this vote tonight affects a lot of different moving parts in this.
So the vote tonight is for a new building, and that's all the paperwork, all the documentation is based on that. If you were to say, we're gonna go with renovate as new, then you really can't file your application. But after you file the application and we do more research and we say, okay, here's what needs to happen based on all this other investigation, and we may wanna at that point start putting bores through the existing slab to see what are the conditions and do, there's a lot of investigation.
Right.
And at the end of all that, you think, okay, it's better to renovate, you'd have to make a case with the state, the OSCGR.
And we'd be no worse off than what we are now. Because
Correct.
at least
Right.
we're securing the reimbursement rate by doing it this way.
Right.
And we'd be if it comes down to it, we're no worse off than we are now.
Right, well, and that's why I'm voting yes for this tonight, but I'm just making sure that
You're doing your due
we're-
diligence.
Right,
Yeah.
that
But
we're
I-
all working
and-
together.
I also think there's more than just like, it's not just about the site and the water tables. We're talking about like renovate as new. One of the conclusions is under renovate as new is that yes, we can meet most of North Branford's needs, but we can't meet all of them.
Correct.
So you're talking about investing millions of dollars in a school that when it's complete might not fit all our needs.
Mhm.
I mean, why are we spending taxpayer money and not getting a school that is gonna last us for another 20 years?
Well, that's another thing too, I mean, down the line, we have to make sure too that there will be no like molding issue or anything, because we are building on a very saturated land. Honestly, if we had property there, I probably wouldn't even build a house on that. So that's what I'm just trying to look at, is just looking at the full picture.
And I'm not disagreeing with the water table issues. Yes, it's a concern, but we're not talking about only water table issues. We're talking about putting millions of dollars into a project. And in the conclusion of renovate as new, it said that they can meet most of our educational needs, but not all of them, because you can't get the best building by piecing together our old building. So I just want the best. I think our kids deserve the best school they can get. I mean, it's about time this town has a school they can be proud of, and our kids deserve it.
I agree, but I'm worried about the land that it's
Does
being
anyone
built
have
on.
any other
Can I just-
questions? I think we should just keep it on task and move to questions, because
So,
then we can go
Rusty,
on.
can I just, you've been doing this for 40-plus years, I'm guessing, close to.
30 plus.
30-plus years, sorry. And you've worked with many
That old.
experts, I'll use the term experts, in this process. And you've been looking at reports and doing this for quite some time. You've built many large facilities, schools, neighboring schools. You're familiar with the auditorium here, where it's located. You're familiar with the land that this is going on. And I asked you this before, are you comfortable with your recommendation, with the professional expertise that was given to you, that a school could go on that site and function without any problems?
So the report, Dr. Welty is renowned throughout the state, and actually his father was also a geotechnical engineer. And I spoke to him again after the concerns were expressed, and he said, look, you can put a 3-story, 4-story building here. That's not the issue. It's just, it's a matter of, did you carry the right budget for it? So from that perspective, and I even brought in another engineer, so we had our structural engineer, and I went to a third engineer to have him review the report and get back to me to say, okay, am I missing something? Is it something that's going to be that's a severe problem? And he said, no. He said, in certain areas of the state, that's what you have to deal with. You have high water tables. In fact, sometimes you have, like in Fairfield, there's some areas that the floodplain, you're in the floodplain, and you have to raise the building up in order to build your buildings, and there are existing buildings there. So he was very comfortable with it, and somebody that I respect and I feel would give me.
That are in this business.
Yes, that's
But
better in
the best
structural
thing
engineering.
about it is, that particular site, we are not wed to it.
That's
We can
correct.
do borings
No,
in
you can
other
test.
locations
Right.
to make sure that the ad hoc committee can do due diligence and select the best location on our campus.
Yes.
Yeah, Chandra, thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I think tonight's mission is we have to vote on the new building itself, and then we'll deal with the town about whether the water table's too high or not. How's that sound?
We want everyone to be comfortable, because in the end, it's gonna be a collaborative effort between the Board of Education and the town council, and we're here to represent the children, and they're here to represent the taxpayers, so we need to make this a marriage.
Right,
We
that's
don't
what
wanna
he's
make it a
saying.
divorce.
That's what he's saying.
So that's really our goal here tonight. We are all gonna vote what we feel is best, with the information we have, but to give more clarity to any questions, now is the time, so.
Well, then I'd like to call the question, and there's a motion and a second on the table to put it.
Does anyone
Second.
have any more questions? Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
I made the motion and we
Oh, I didn't
seconded it.
hear you.
We made it a long
The
time
motion's
ago.
on the
I'm
floor.
sorry,
I'll
I'm
second it.
sorry.
It was
I'm
seconded.
still thinking questions.
No, we're in the
I made
discussion
motion
period.
And I seconded
We're
it.
gonna get a roll call vote right now.
Okay, Chairman Papa
Yep.
Holzer,
Yes.
Vice Chair Candelora,
Yes.
Jana Balsamo,
Yes.
Vincent Mace,
Yes,
Marcy Nafrio,
Yes.
Cynthia Rice,
Yes.
Motion passes.
The motion passed.
where's Beth Sienna? She didn't call her.
Beth's not here.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
That's why she didn't vote. She's gonna,
would be hard for her to vote.
yeah, she's not here.
He's keeping tabs on
All
us.
right, can I have a motion to adjourn? please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.